Welcome back to The Conservative. Hello, Mike Lannon here, and today I'm going to jump right in. We've got Kathrine Switzer back with us, and if you remember from last year, Kathrine Switzer is the first woman to ever run the Boston Marathon, has run it and won it, and done all kinds of things since then. And Kathrine, welcome back.
Thanks, Mike.
It's
great to
good
be
see
here.
you
too, dear.
Kathrine and I are old friends, so let's just get right into it. We're here for the Crowley Brothers Memorial Road Race. By the time you get to see this show, the Crowley Brothers Memorial Road Race is this weekend, and this show is 2 weeks old as far as number of episodes. But here we are, and welcome back. It's really exciting.
Thanks.
So I guess the first question I got to ask you real quick is, how have you been? How's your last year been for you? What have you been doing?
Well, first of all, Mike, I've got to congratulate you because yesterday was an amazing day, and I'm sure you recall this. It was the 50th anniversary of a couple of very important occasions. One, Jim Ryan as a schoolboy set the schoolboy record in the mile in the United States and just shattered all our expectations about how fast a person could run. Mike Lannon, in case the audience doesn't know, a great miler in his own time, a 4:17 miler, when we were students together at Lynchburg College in Lynchburg, Virginia, ran this incredible performances down there for us and inspired me, and that started my running career in many, many ways, which we'll talk about. But, and that led to the Boston Marathon, but that's another story. Also, Bob Scholl, who went on to win the gold medal in the 5,000 at the Tokyo Olympics, also in that same meet with Jim Ryan. Most people don't remember this, but set a national record in the 3 mile, which we don't run anymore. We run the 5,000 meters most of the time. But really exciting times leading into the Tokyo Olympics. It was really a great time, and you remember all that because you were very, very active at the time.
I was very excited about Robert Scholl, and you and I remember we had a great coach, Aubrey Moon, and Aubrey Moon down there at Lynchburg, they had some kind of a athletic club, and guest speakers at night. Who do you think they brought in? Robert Scholl.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I got to meet him. I got his autograph, and I mean, he was big in believing at that time. We won't say what years, but at that time he really
64.
believed. Yeah, we believed back there that treadmill running was going to be the wave of the future, and he felt that he could get very fast on the treadmill. And I have to tell you that since then to now, I don't believe that the treadmill is going to make you a great runner. You got to get outdoors and perform.
Well, now let me give you an interesting update. You know, I don't know if this is relevant for the show, but I think it all is that my husband, Roger Robinson, who's a senior writer with Running Times Magazine, is just out with Bob Scholl at this time in Dayton, Ohio, where he lives and is coaching and doing a big 50th anniversary piece for the magazine on him. And he doesn't do treadmill running, he's coaching, but he does repeat 100s on the track. And so Roger was running with him, and he said, obviously they're not as fast as they used to be, but it's an interesting concept of training. You know, 100, then jog, 100 jog, 100 jog. When you're running a 5,000, that's pretty unconventional training.
Coach Moon would have me do 110 yarders.
Is that right? Interesting.
And we would do 110 jog, 110, and then I just read just recently where, and I know we're not boring you folks out there with talking about running, but it's an exciting thing and about, you know, keeping our heart healthy. This is the great thing. But Coach Moon and now Salazar has his runners run 300-meter.
Yeah. Okay.
We used to do a lot of 400-meter training, and it makes sense. 300-meter, little jog, 300 meters. You can run a little faster for 300 meters and pick that heart rate up so you get that tempo pace. So it's kind of neat.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about heart. I mean, because we were in the car talking about how important that is. In case our audience doesn't know this, just a refresher, is that cardiovascular disease is your -- killer, men and women. Women think they're immune, and this is why I'm very, very passionate about this. Women think they're immune from heart attacks, but after 50, after menopause, our rates are even higher. And the amazing thing is that people don't know is that heart disease kills more people than diabetes, all kinds of cancers, and HIV put together.
Right.
So it's a massive killer. And yet,
and it doesn't have to be.
That's the thing. It's a heartbreaker because a simple exercise and diet, supposedly, you know, obviously, but exercise is the one component nobody talks about, which is fun and easy and convenient. A 30-minute walk a day reduces risk of cardiovascular disease by 45%. It's amazing.
There's a little bit of genetic structure, you know, and I knock on wood. I mean, I get a clean bill of health every year. I'm going to be 70, Kathrine. Can you believe it?
Yes, because I know how old I am.
But at 70, I'm still out there running.
Yeah.
So I'm in my 58th year of running.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, so just a few months from now, I'll be in my 59th year. And I started when I was about 11 years of age, you know, and back with just prior to Coach Moon, but after I met Coach Moon, who was running all the time. But I know that protects my heart,
Yeah,
and it
absolutely.
keeps that weight off. And every time I gain 10 pounds, and sometimes more than 10 pounds, I just go back out on the streets and start running. And I don't go out there and pound. I go out, I listen to my body.
Yeah.
If my body says take a walk, I stop the run and I take a walk. If it says jog slow, I jog slow. The body basically tells you what to do.
Oh.
And you know, you don't even have to do any running at all.
Well,
You could just walk.
that's what I want the audience. Don't turn off the television set, because it's not just running. A 30-minute walk, even a stroll with your dog, is the thing you need to do. You just need to raise your heart rate.
Right.
You know, sure, running's better, but not everybody can run. So just get out there and move. It's really, really, really critical.
And you're absolutely right. And you know, I guess if you're very, very heavy, you should probably go to the doctor and get that heart checked out before you actually do that. But I know lots of people that if you just get up off the couch and instead of just walking to the refrigerator and having that other beer or having the big glass of milk with the popcorn or whatever you do, you know, walk around the house a few times, walk up and down the stairs if you can. But eventually put the coat on and walk out the door, walk down to the end of your driveway or walk down to the end of the street block and back again, and just increase a little bit of the thing. You know what I always did? And I think I learned this from Moon too. It was telephone pole to telephone pole.
Yeah, absolutely. Or mailbox to mailbox.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I'm going to go to that mailbox and back.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm going to go to that mailbox and the next one and back.
You know, I've heard, you know, especially among women, because there are now millions and millions of women who are running. In fact, there are more women runners than men.
77%. Last year you were here was
amazing.
64% women in the Crowley. This year it's 77%
It is.
of the.
It is.
And it's the biggest number of runners we've ever had in the Crowley this year.
Yeah, and why is that? Let me just tell you, it's because women finally are realizing that this is one of the best things they've ever done for themselves, and it's all about empowerment. They have this sense of self-esteem and accomplishment from getting out and running and walking. But here's the other thing that everybody can learn from this, is that when you go outside in particular and get fresh air and see nature, your mood elevates and your endorphins come up. And so you say, hey, I feel really positive about that today. So it's a very, very positive reinforcer. And women themselves are having this enormous sense of spirit and excitement together. The bottom line is that now there are millions and millions of people out moving, running and walking, which you know, of course, but that has got to be one of the best things we have done for this country in terms of prevention of cardiovascular disease. And I really love to see all of our heart hospitals and our health concerns really get behind not just diet. Because as you know, as runners, we used to say, when the furnace is burning hot enough, it'll consume anything. That may not be true. You know, we've learned that, like from Bill Rogers, who ate a lot of garbage food all the time, that he had very, very high cholesterol, even though he was running hard. But if you just move, you're going to really, really reduce your rate of heart disease. I
think you're right. I think you have to be careful about what you're putting into that engine. A quality gasoline in your engine is better than not so good. So yeah, you have to be careful about the kinds of things you eat. But I think still runners don't have to be quite as careful, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we get away with a lot. You know, and on that note, I'll have a little sip of coffee with, which I put a little cream in this morning. But no, seriously, the whole boom in running now with women is a very, very interesting thing in terms of preventing heart disease, because women also are, let's face it, really, they kind of control the family, if you see what I mean. Oh. So they become the role models for the kids in terms of getting out, exercising, and you know, getting sunshine, getting vitamin D, getting healthy, and it's going to really be changing the next generations, I think, in a very, very positive way. I hope.
Well, I think moms do have a very, very big influence on that nurturing piece, that keeping it, that wellness piece. I mean, I go to the doctor primarily because my wife says it's time to go. I mean, I think I'm a typical guy. She doesn't have to be told to go to the doctor. She says it's time to go and get checked. And so she drags me along with it and sets up the appointment and all this other kind of stuff. If she wasn't there, I probably wouldn't do that. I think that's very typical of most guys. That's a big mistake, guys. We need, and I don't know, I know, even though you just talked about it, when there's 77% women running in all these things in the Crowley, and that's pretty much the national trend. There's more women running than. What are you guys doing? You know,
That's what I want to know.
What are you doing?
You know, my husband's like you, a former world-class runner, and he said, "Why are these guys sitting on their hands?" You know, and he said, "I would have given my back teeth to be in a race with women like this. This is unbelievable." Then he made a bad joke, which is funny, but he said, you know, 3,000 women in shorts, what's not to love?
Well, there's a race, you probably know the name of this, there's a race somewhere here in New England where they draw one man.
Oh, I was in that race. No, let me tell you, it's up in Newburyport, and it's called All Women and One Lucky Guy. And I was a guest at that race for a couple of years before they changed it to the same weekend as the New York City Marathon. And it's a terrific little race, and the women just fall over this guy, and he just loves it. It's really great. It's great.
I think that's
phenomenal. And they give somebody in that race, by the way, something else that's been big this year. They give somebody my old bib number, this 261, from the Boston Marathon, and they make a big fuss about that. We can talk about that too.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about
the Boston Marathon, because that's very important to most people's heart. It was a very successful this year. The year before,
really, it's great.
Tragedy down there, and we won't. Well, of course, this is the conservative talking, but I hear all the time in the press, you know, treat this guy with lots of respect. Are you kidding me? He killed innocent people. So here we go.
Yeah, even wrote a confession.
Yeah,
so,
Taranoff is. There's his name, Taranoff, and that's so. Go ahead. What about the Boston Marathon?
Okay. Well, first of all, I was not the first woman to actually run the Boston Marathon. I was the first woman to officially run the Boston Marathon.
But that makes a big deal.
Well, it's interesting. The woman who ran the year before, you know, ran very well, jumped out of the bushes, ran the race, but she didn't run officially. So when I ran the next year and proved to my coach in practice that I could do the distance, because he didn't believe a woman could do it, he was so impressed that he helped me sign up for the race. And I said, "Do I need to sign up for this race?" And he said, "This is the Boston Marathon. This is a serious race. You've got to sign up for it." And so I signed up for it, and I paid my money, and I had my AAU card, and we had the travel permits. You remember all the rigmarole we had to go through. And so when I showed up at Boston, it wasn't to make a political statement. It was because it was the big race. I had proved to my coach I could do it, and I always wanted to run Boston. But being official was the thing that changed history, because the race director, seeing me in the race wearing bib numbers 261, lost his temper. Jumped off the press bus, ran after me, tackled me, tried to throw me out of the race. It was captured by all the photographers. Now, we all know the story. My boyfriend bounced the official out of the race instead, and I went on to finish. And the other point of the history point here that was critical was that I finished the race, okay? You know, life always gives you choices, and you can quit or you can take responsibility, and I decided I'd take responsibility, finish the race, and that changed my life. And so what's happened now? What is this, you know, 46 years later? The bib number 261 that this official tried to pull off of me has become a number around the world for fearless in the face of adversity, to the point where, Mike, it's become now a really global movement, and it has really consumed all of my time for the last 8 months because it has become extremely powerful. We talk about the emergence of women's running. Well, women also run because they feel empowered, but they feel fearless. And when you feel fearless after doing something difficult, as running does for you, it changes your life in every aspect. You know, in your home, in your job, you're no longer afraid to ask your boss for a raise or get a new job, do all these different things that intimidated you before. You know, you're very strong. So this fearlessness force is going around the world. We're starting a whole lot of clubs, moving the movement along. And then two other big things happened. The one, we launched a line of sportswear at the Boston Marathon this year called 261 Fearless, sold everything we had. Skirt Sports jumped on this, and You know, it's a very interesting thing to be 67 and get a sportswear contract.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying also is that life offers you opportunities at every stage of your life. You're never too old to begin something new. But the second thing that was very, very powerful this year, and I think maybe just was a glint in my eye when I was on your show last year at this time, was we decided to put on the only women's only marathon in Europe called the 261 Women's Marathon. And we've had it already. It was March 30th in Mallorca, which is a very nice destination. It's an island off the coast of Spain. And we chose that location because Southern Europe is very underserved with women's running. Women are running, but they're intimidated to go into a race. We created this race for them, said, we know about your challenges, come on and take the big one and take the step. 700 women from 25 countries showed up, and we know that this is going to be, 25,000 women in a few years. It's going to be massive.
We're talking about when we were young, making the political statements. I was thinking about this the other night. Back there in those days, we didn't even know what politics was. We weren't making political statements. We just wanted to run, have fun,
exactly
and do our thing.
Exactly
it was like,
right.
I can remember when Coach Moon came to me. I was captain of the track team, and he wanted Kathrine to run in the mile. I said, what are you talking about? Let her run.
Yeah.
There was none of that. I think even in this day and age, somewhere along the line, people become adults and everything's politically correct and all that stuff, and they forget we're just kids. We just want to go out and prove ourselves for that moment in time, as you're talking about. Yeah. And then if we get those pieces of success, we begin to develop whether or not we'll have a legacy, if
Absolutely.
we'll leave something. And that's part of being that difference maker. Are you going to leave something? I mean, if you're sitting on that couch day after day after day and letting the TV be your dictate for all of your thinking, your creative juices, you probably aren't going to leave much of a legacy. But if you get off the couch and you go do something, even if it's very small in a club, helping somebody else out.
Oh, grassroots stuff is the essence of everything, to do it locally. I always say, act locally, think globally, and it's the truth.
Right.
But I think people need to realize that at every point in our lives, we have an opportunity to make a difference. You just have to take the action on it and be responsible. And people say, oh, you were destined to run the Boston Marathon and be tackled by Jock Semple and change the world. Are you kidding? I was just running. But what you do afterwards makes all the difference.
Right.
You don't quit, you finish, and then you take on. But the other thing is this, and my husband and I had some very serious talk about this. I'm going to start a race in Southern Europe, in Mallorca, at 67, and start a global movement. This is about the time I was thinking maybe sitting back and retiring. And you can't.
Too young to retire.
You can't do that. I think when something needs to be done, people need to take action, step up, and you're never too old to do that. And all around us, I see kids who really, really would love somebody maybe who is thinking about retirement, and you're wondering what to do. Go out there and hold a stopwatch for these kids. Give them, yay, you can do that. Set up a little organization, get them moving. All kinds of things you can do.
I just firmly believe in what you're saying. I think that no matter as you progress, and as we as a country are getting older, there's lots of people at 65 who think it's time to retire. That's retired in place, or pour the dirt over my head. No, keep moving forward. Do stuff. And that keeps you active mentally and physically. The body has a mind and the mind has a body. They work together in tandem. And you've said that so many times, and you have to do that kind of stuff. We just have to make sure we do these things.
Absolutely.
So what are you writing? What are you reading? What are you
doing?
Well,
okay. Well, so as I say, I organized a race. I launched a line of sportswear. I made some really important speeches this year, but I also rewrote my first book. And we were talking about cardiovascular diseases. The book I wrote, my first book was Running and Walking for Women Over 40. And the publisher, I remember 17 years ago, screamed, and she said, first of all, it's a women's book. There goes half of our sales. Now you're talking over 40. I fought and fought and fought. Finally, I got it. Well, it became one of those quiet bestsellers. It wasn't like on the New York Times bestseller list, but it sold steadily for 17 years. I begged my publisher to let me update this. No, it's selling well. I said, do you know how much the world has changed in 17 years? They gave me the electronic rights, so I rewrote it. I said, I can do this in 3 quick days, right? Honestly, it was 3 intensive weeks. Fabrics had changed, health had changed, women had changed, everything had changed. I mean, it was just phenomenal. And so now the book is out as an ebook, Running and Walking for Women Over 40. And I'm very proud of it because there's a whole section on heart disease and women and heart disease, because women don't think, as I said, they think they're immune to heart disease and they're not. It's the number one killer.
It's interesting too, because when I talk to my wife about this and a guy, we just recognize heart problems. You have that pain that runs from your arm up to your jaw, or you have that intense pressure on your chest. Women don't even get that.
I know.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different for a woman. It's like, well, she's looking for all of these things to happen. And we just had recently in this community a very young woman die at the hospital. And she for weeks, according to her daughter, had felt different symptoms, but didn't recognize that she was in
sort
deep
of
trouble.
Yeah. Like you think, oh, it's just a little acid indigestion. I feel kind of queasy. I'm kind of out of,
That's exactly what she was describing.
Kind of icky feeling in your arms and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's amazing. So again, books. I know you're a writer. I know you've been. Well, actually, you finished your schooling in journalism.
I did.
So that's really a lot of good stuff.
Oh, I know. You're talking about this book.
Oh, I don't know.
It's on. It just happens to be lying on the desk. Actually, I wrote this book 5 years ago now. It's really cooking. Marathon Woman.
People, runners read running material that's good. I have at one time I loaned it out, and I've seen this book. You're gonna love this story. I read Herb Elliott's book.
Oh yes.
And it's a very small volume, not in print anymore. And I loaned it to a runner, and I saw it in a yard sale. Someone else had bought it. Then I saw it in a library, and I know it's my book because I have a certain pages marked, and I look for it. I've never been able to get my hands on it. It's like, wait a second, this is my book. But runners are pretty good readers. They do read the running material, which is very, very important. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, I've always told you this: leaders are readers.
Oh, that's a good one. I've not heard that expression.
Yeah, leaders are readers. You don't find very many leaders ever that aren't really good readers about anything and everything they get their hands on. And I know you're a reader, so very, very important stuff. So Crowley Road Race is coming up. You're back. Bill Rogers is coming back. This is a great time. And sometimes I was thinking last night, I was talking to someone in town within the last week. The Crowley Road Race, 86 years anniversary. 1928 is when it started, okay?
What's the history of it? I don't even know.
Bill
won't know.
Clarence DeMar
Yeah.
was at that time an older statesman.
7 times winner of the Boston Marathon.
Yep. And Frank Crowley from Rutland, Vermont, 1,500 meters, 1936 Olympics, 5th place. Frank is a young man, Clarence is an older man. Frank challenges Clarence DeMar to a 10K race.
Oh, so a happy medium between the marathon.
So they come together and they run. And if you see the pictures and read the stories, back in 1920, there were 1,000 people downtown to watch this race.
Oh, that's huge.
It's huge, So Frank Crowley wins the race, and it's a big, big deal. So during that hiatus, there's other times during, to about 1975 or 6, there's people that have had races in between. Okay, but not consecutive. So now we're at the 40th year. My wife and I have been in charge for 18 years. So we've got 40 years now coming up, 2 years from now. This is the 38th running coming right now. But can you imagine my wife's already planning for the anniversary?
Well, she should be, actually.
The 40th anniversary.
Yeah, now you've got to get that.
2 years after that is the 90th anniversary.
Being this close to Boston and everything, that's a really amazing story.
Yeah,
and I mean, these legendary characters, and bring them out. Everybody loves stories of heroes. And that's a really, really good story. I'm
glad you said that, heroes, but that's the thing I was making the point is that I talk to people, Kathrine, in the community, have never heard of the Crowley Road Race, have never even heard of it. It's like, what are you reading? What Kool-Aid are you drinking? Because people are amazing. They're so wrapped up in their small lives that they don't take the big view of what's going on, And I know I wanted to talk to you about, you're talking about women running and stuff, and I know you've said before, there's lots of women in this world who have no opportunity to even get up off the couch and go out the door because they will be, in certain religious communities.
That's what 261 is all about. We're sorry to interrupt, but the 261 movement is about reaching those women.
Right.
Because you know what? We can do it now with cellular devices and electronically. and the Arab Spring, you know, can easily be the women's spring too.
I'm glad you just said that, because the Chinese government, this is also, I think, the 25th anniversary of Tiananmen Square. And
Gosh, already.
The Chinese government has banned certain things on their telephones over there in China. And they're telling certain men and women that they can't have certain words said that would indicate that Tiananmen Square
Actually
ever even
happened.
existed. And it's like, you know, we certainly live on the same planet, but do we really? So
it's amazing.
Fun stuff. Yeah.
But that's right. You know, that's another thing about the women's running movement. I'm sorry to go on about this, and now I'm getting on my high horse. But there are most of the women in the world cannot go out and get an education, cannot drive, cannot control their lives in any way. So, you know, anything we can do when we're empowered, we again, taking responsibility, we need to pass on that empowerment to these other women.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because we're coming to the wrap of the show here, but that we are so blessed in America. You know, we're talking about get off your couch and you know, don't watch soap operas and drink sarsaparilla and be sassy. Get up off that couch and go do something. You have the opportunity in America. Nobody's going to stop you from going out there and taking a walk, taking a run.
Yeah.
And think of the number of women you've just described. And we're not talking just 10, 15 women here. We're talking millions of women who cannot even get an education.
Cannot even go outside.
Well, we have somewhere in the world, I forgot what one place, we have 300 young women that dared to get an education, now are held captive.
In Nigeria.
Yeah,
It is. Oh gosh, don't get me started. It's a global disgrace.
Yeah, it is.
And you know, you say where's the teeth in the UN? You know, can't we have an operating force that everybody in the world, even Al Qaeda, doesn't approve of these girls being kidnapped? So why can't we have kind of a universal, let's say, police force that everybody agrees this is a crime against humanity? Let's go fix it. I mean, it can't be that difficult.
I think we do have those forces. Then you have to have the political structure and will to do it. Because Kathrine, there are those things are in place, but nobody ever does it because, well, and that's, ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate the 70th year of D-Day during the television of this show. That's what the president's doing. As a matter of fact, today of the TV of the taping of this show, the president's over at Normandy with that 9,000 American graves. And just think about that. 78 years of trying to stop a dictator who had the same view 70 years later that people in this world still have. Women can't do anything. Jews can't do anything. Certain elderly people can't do anything. We don't learn from our own history.
I know.
It's crazy.
I know. One thing, you know, and I know we got to close, but people say, you know, well, what's like the most important thing, you know? And I said, you know what? If you just have gratitude, I mean, if you just think about all the blessings you have, and then take responsibility for trying to make a change for somebody else. But people just think that, oh, they complain about this and that and that, and I just say, you have no idea how lucky you are. It's unbelievable.
You know, and on that note, talking about responsibility and accountability and your blessings, we'll end the show today, and I hope to have you back. Kathrine, it's a pleasure as always. Thank you very much.
Take care.
And welcome, and thanks for tuning in, and see you next time. This is the conservative Mike Lannon signing off. Bye now.